I invested in three delightful students who were doing a sort of social network for universities. And they sent me, one of them sent me the slide deck and said, hey, can you give me some pitch deck, feedback? And I wrote back and said, actually, I don't think your pitch deck is really good, but I love the concept. I'm happy to invest. I'll solve the problem of the deck, but I'll invest. So, but then I said, I'm not spending money on lawyers. I'm going to do this myself. So I basically took the legals from my last company and I modified them for the new company. But then I realized, I was going to be the judge, jury, and executioner. If I was the guy who knew the legals and the investor and putting the legals together, it was going to be unfair. I could take advantage of them.
They're only students.
Exactly. So I thought, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to meet up and I'm going to go through this with you and answer all your questions. And so I thought that, they would be completely bored, and actually the whole thing would take like 20 minutes. And I thought I'd know the answer to everything. And it turned out to be the opposite. I found three things. One, they were completely insatiable in wanting to know the stuff. It wasn't boring at all. They found it really, really interesting. Secondly, I realized I was actually quite good at communicating things and could explain complicated legal things in a way that non-legal people would in fact enjoy and want more of. So I thought, well, that's kind of surprise. And the third thing is I realized there's a lot of stuff I just plain didn't know. So actually, I realized in retrospect, after we started Seed Legals, that the deal I did was not, there were many mistakes in it. I'm delighted to say all in the favor of the founders, not me. I was like, shit, I should have got this and I should have got that. I didn't realize. But actually I thought it was really interesting. And then I completely forgot all about that. And then at a party, met my business partner now, Laurent Laffy. He's an absolute genius, ex-VC and serial angel investor. And he was saying, over a drink, those lawyers, they charge a fortune, they make mistakes, they take forever. We should change that. And I went, interesting. That prior conversation came back to me. And I thought, maybe we'll go do this. Anyway, we got together and turned into Seed Legal. So that's the backstory.
I love that. And diving into this people aspect a bit more, which I think, given, you're a highly, highly technical founder, this is quite interesting. You mentioned, it was very important to you that, these were students, that they get a fair deal. Unfortunately, I'm not sure everyone is like that. What is your take on, ruthlessness in business? Do you think that's something that works, or is that something that you try and avoid, perhaps?
Yeah, actually, I think, it's always intriguing to, sort of model yourself on sort of, at least you think that Donald Trump, the art of the deal, but, or not. And I think, you might find the spectrum from the Enron of I'm going to screw everybody, including screwing an entire country for profit, or state of California for, including, having people's literally lights go out so you can arbitrage your electricity rates. Through to, I want to be a not-for-profit, we just want to do good. And so where is happiness? Obviously, I don't know the answer to anyone better than anyone else, but I think, I think not-for-profits are not interesting in general to investors. And I think one of the things I learned at the BBC is you need to have a single definition of success. So at the BBC, because it doesn't, have, profits and losses, where it's funded by a license fee. So when I arrived, I went, well, great, should I, aim when I was running iPlayer for users? I mean, I can't optimize for revenue because there isn't any, is it more users? Is it making people happier? I don't know, help me with the metrics. And then I learned the BBC runs on RQIV, reach, in other words, reaching more people, quality as in a quality experience, impact as in those who do use it more, and value, which is, the overall value for money. So it sounds amazing, but it turns out to be really problematic because anybody can optimize for any of these. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, someone would come along and go, we've got a project to digitize 100 Grecian vases from the British Museum and put them on the internet. Isn't that amazing that that's value and quality? And you go, yeah, but dude, there are more people who's going to go to the bathrooms in this building on a given day than will ever use or view, you know, these
Grecian
items.
vases.
So, you know, on the other hand, you know, the program on the Kardashians is going to get millions of views, but you know, it's a bit shit.
Unfortunately.
So exactly. So, you know, what's right, and so I think, you know, with a company, it's important to have something that you strive for, and is it, you know, is it market share? Is it the number of website views? Is it revenue? But I think that creates clarity on the things that you do. So all of which is a long story to say, I think one is, you know, pick some key metrics that you want to focus on. But I think important is that you want to be, you know, ethical in all of your dealings, because what goes around comes around. People who've worked for you in previous companies may want to work for you again, you know. And so rule one is you never do something that you would be embarrassed, you know, were others to find out. And I think separately, one of the really interesting things on Seed Legals is, as I've mentioned a little earlier, which is when you do have many users, you now start having this sort of moral obligation, in a sense, that you never dreamed that you'd find yourself, you know, saddled with, for better or for worse, is to, you know, do no evil. Or coming back to your question, you know, my goal on Seed Legals is actually to take funding rounds and in due course other things that people contract with each other and make them the deal points open and transparent, and use data and tutorials to help everybody understand what everything means, how it works, and actually what's market. And I do that for two reasons. One, for a, you know, self-interest, because if parties can do this, then they're going to use the platform and complete their deals more efficiently. And secondly, it prevents anyone screwing someone else. And it's fantastic when I see founders on the platform going, it's amazing, I never knew all this stuff. You know, a lawyer in my last round gave me 150 pages of legals. I have no idea what it meant. Finally, on my second round, now using Seed Legals, I understand what drag along means, and I understand this. And thanks for asking me that, because you've shown me and you've let me select not only what it is, but the things that it could have been in the alternative. And that's the bit that really gets me excited.
It sounds to me, it's you know, and this is no surprise or great revelation, it's about building trust. And ruthlessness perhaps works in the short term, but when you come to, you know, work with that company or individual again, it's not so good anymore. So you need to build that long-term trust, in your opinion.
Yes, I think that's essential. You know, I mean, one of the challenges you might have is on a daily basis, the trust, you know, trust is always good, but it might turn out that, you know, you could get, you know, price something higher or get a deal at, you know, for more revenue on a deal. And then you're going, well, you know, should I honor this first price I had suggested, or should I actually increase it now? Actually, maybe in funding rounds, there's a bit of an analogy, which is you start your round at a given valuation, and then you find yourself oversubscribed. Do you go and increase the valuation and go back to your investors saying, I'm now increased the valuation, so you're getting fewer shares, you know, for the money. And it's tempting, because as the founders, you're going to get less diluted if you increase the valuation. So there's a personal benefit to increasing the valuation. But for the investor, it turns out they really hate that, because they were in based on a certain promise, and you've now changed that promise. So some investors will continue to be in, but it leaves a sour taste. And others will just go, no, we're out, and we'll never invest in you again, because you know, I mean, that wasn't really the go. You know, and we faced the same problem in our first round when we were oversubscribed, and you know, we took a while closing the round because we wanted to be perfect on Seed Legals, so we kept building Seed Legals, and then we went, oh, you know, actually we've done quite a lot in the last few months. We really should increase the valuation, because we're also raising much more than we originally thought. And then my business partner and I looked each other in the eyes and went, we'll take the hit. we're not going to break that sort of promise with investors. And so we took the hit, and didn't increase the valuation. And I'm actually pleased we didn't, because, what goes around comes around. And actually, our investors made a very nice, at least on paper, return between our first and second round. And I'm totally delighted that, to be able to, offer that reward for taking a punt, at an early stage.
Yeah, I think given your success at the moment, Karma's certainly come round to congratulate you for that. It seems to have worked out just fine to me.
It's early days. We'll see how we go.
We'll see. We'll see. But this is actually super interesting, because this is something that people definitely struggle with, these kind of moral versus optimization positions. And you get that in every walk of life, not just a founder, but friendships, work, relationships. You just gave a fantastic example. And what did that actually look like? Was that just a pure principles gut decision, never doing that? Was it something you meticulously thought about, the cost and benefits? How did you actually decide to, as you say, take that hit?
I think I've been around in enough companies that I know that you keep meeting people who you met with years ago. And if your interactions are not good, then, you've basically scarred for life, so to speak. And it's just so nice when somebody pings you saying, hey, I spoke to X and they, thought you were awesome, or, recommended you, or, said I could trust you, or whatever it is. And I think that counts more. And maybe, by the way, it all comes back probably for me. So back in my school days, I probably didn't do very much schoolwork and read lots of books, and I read philosophy, and most philosophy was rubbish. I didn't understand, well, it made no logical sense. But then there was one guy, Bertrand Russell, that I, thought was really brilliant. But one of the things, was, if the many, often you don't really know which is the right answer or the wrong answer in a given quandary. But if you can think, what would the world be like if everyone adopted that model? And if the world would be a better place if everyone adopted the model, then that's the model you should adopt. And I think actually, I don't think on a moment by moment basis, but it's a principle that I like. And whether it's, if you're walking in the street and there's a piece of paper on the ground, either everyone's going to be annoyed and keep walking past the piece of paper, or you should act as if the world would be better if everyone acted in the same way. And that would be pick up the piece of paper and shove it in the nearest bin. And I think likewise, if your interaction with a person is such that if everyone interacted that way, which is, a level of integrity and honesty and, fair dealings, and also perhaps, assuming that each person is trying to maximize their gain in a given transaction. So, then I think if you do that, and if you assume the other person is thinking the same way, unless you can see they're clearly not, but then you may not want to deal with them. So broadly, a view which is probably not dissimilar to, it's to act in a way that if everyone else acted in the same way, the world would be a better place. And if that's a principle, then I think that's one that I like to, in general, try to live by.
No, I think that's brilliant, because I read some philosophy when I was, in my younger days as well. And I think that was always the problem, wasn't it? They had these fantastic abstract theories, but at the end of the day, they were either too subjective, so you couldn't work out how to apply it and when, or it was just so dependent on whether people actually did it. But as a mental model, and as that's been a guiding principle for you, it seems, since you thought about it all the way back then, it's amazing.